We have a special report for you. Here is the full segment that was cut short due to technical difficulties in our last broadcast. Here is Lisa with one of the chief engineers explaining how weather settings are crafted in EVO.
Yes, I'm back with the weather settings engineer of EVO. Please explain to us in detail, how does the process work and how do these steps actually look? Maybe right to the point where Reshade might come into play in the end.
Okay, so the first step in adjusting a stage is usually to correct its brightness levels. These settings are not universal. Each stage in RBR has its own maximum brightness threshold, and once you exceed that point, you are no longer brightening the scenery. Instead, you start washing out shadows and altering particle colors and causing other issues. Particles tend to shift toward red, while shadows often take on a blue tint depending on other parameters every time you exceed this maximum brightness. So in the default setting scenery here, it looks bright, nice and sunny, but you may also notice that many shadows are missing, both close to the car here or next to the people or next to the building, but also in the distant background here, there are some shadows missing, making the scene look quite flat. So to avoid all these issues, we need to identify the stage's true maximum brightness level. There are several different settings that influence this. There's sun intensity and there are values that more directly alter the brightness of the landscape. And there are other various global lighting parameters that are all interconnected. But for now we are going to focus on only one of these global illumination settings. And I'm going to lower this one and see what it does. Okay, so as you can see, by lowering this one value, we don't necessarily lose overall brightness. Instead, we bring the shadows back, already making the scene look more believable and less flat. So here shadows appeared again, and here next to the people, next to the building, but also in this area here in the background. But I just noticed something. I go back to the default value. Yes, okay. So try to focus on this area here, this road section here. I'm lowering the value a little bit again, and you stay focused in this area here. Yes, so even while the shadows came back, this area didn't change its brightness at all. So this is an indication that we're heading in the right direction, but we're not there yet. Because we need to lower the brightness level until even the brightest areas of the scene are affected by the brightness settings. Otherwise we would run into some issues further along the stage, so let's lower this one again and try to stay focused in this area here. Okay, still no change in the brightest sections here, only the shadows got more pronounced, which is usually what we're trying to achieve. So let's get further down, because eventually you will reach a point where even these brightest areas do begin to change. They become slightly darker and they often shift the color tint. So let me demonstrate this again. 3.5 was our over-brightened image, yes. And when I go back down, you can see that it gets darker and a little red shifted. So at this point, the color tint you see right now is the result of the actual colors of the stage and its weather settings. While in the over-brightened image, the color effect is just an artifact. Then yeah, it's not intuitive and it doesn't follow logical expectations, but this is how RBR behaves. So let me find the true maximum level, because now we know that somewhere between 0.35 and 0.32 our value must be. So let's get back to 3.5 and lower it to 3.3. Okay, it could change, but maybe we can go a little brighter yet. Yeah, yes we can, it got a little brighter. So yeah, I'm confident that for this specific stage with these specific settings, this is now the maximum brightness level. So now we can go and alter away this redshift we witnessed when lowering the brightness. And now we can change several other settings. There are lots of additional settings that can be changed for the weather, but I need to change them outside of here because these are somewhat limited here in the game itself. So I'll quit for now and come back when I'm done fiddling with the rest of the settings. Okay, so this is what I came up with after fiddling around with the brightness. This is the default one, this is what we initially had. And this now with the brightness level set to its stage maximum. So you can see now all the shadows are back, quite pronounced in this scenario actually, but now focus on this area here we established previously as the brightest section. It will not change its brightness or color tint when I switch between the default and the new settings. This is the default one and back to the adjusted one. All we did for now was getting back all the shadows, set the brightness to its maximum and adjust the color hue. And this is what we have now. It's actually a necessity because we are not only getting all the shadows back, it's not only about the shadows, we also fixed a ton of issues we would encounter later on in the stage and its scenery regarding shadows and color tints, and also issues that would occur with the particle colors. So yeah, this is a very necessary first step. Okay, so now with the brightness levels and white balances set correctly, we can now focus on the sky. So in this example, I feel like the sky doesn't look like a sunny day yet, and that is still our goal right now. The sky looks a little bit subdued and it also has a little red tint in it, so we can try to get rid of that. Again, there are several different values and settings that all affect the sky in one way or another, and they're all intertwined and they all need to be considered when changing these. So let's just focus on this one. So one thing, for example, in RBR, the sun pretty much always gets in the way in sunny conditions and applies an almost turquoise color to the sky that doesn't look like a blue sky on a sunny day. So let's move the sun out of the picture a little bit. Okay, so the sky is now more bluish. We can now add back in some intensity to the sun with a different value. Okay, it's better already. For a crisp, clear, sunny condition setting, this might already be done for now, but let's add in some clouds. So these clouds are too dark. For sunny conditions, they don't look like clouds on a sunny day, so we can raise their brightness as well. Okay, looks better already. Yeah, we are not quite there yet, but we are getting there. Okay, after some tinkering, this is what I came up with. This is now what we have after setting the maximum brightness, adjusting the colors and adjusting the sky. So this is what we have. And this is where we started, and this is what we have for now. Default, and this is what we have. So let's move on. Something else we need to consider now that we have the global brightness, the color hue and the sky set to our liking is the car lighting. You can see with the default settings the car is flickering.
Left.
Okay, so we definitely need...
50.
So we definitely need to get rid of this glitch. Okay, so now this is fixed. As you can see, the car is not flickering anymore. This is not an issue on every stage, but there are stages that have this issue. So yeah, it's just RBR things. So for a final comparison, this is what we came up with. And this is default. This is now back to the result with adjusted levels and default, and back to our adjusted levels. And we not only put back in some more detail and brought back shadows, we also fixed tons of issues you can't see in this clip here yet, but we would literally encounter further down the road, just with these rudimentary fixes. So with this all set, now we have a solid fundament on which to build all the other weather options off of. Speaking of which, So all we did for now was to alter the easiest of the weather settings, sunny condition, but here you can see a comparison. This is the default weather settings menu of this particular stage. So there are certainly quite a few in this example. And here for comparison is the EVO weather settings table for the same stage, which is not only more extensive, the weather options are also labeled neatly, so you know what you're getting yourself into by choosing a certain weather condition. And this weather variety is pretty much constant over all of the hundreds of stages in RBR within the EVO mod. They almost all have the same type of variety with a few exceptions due to certain issues. So you can take a look at this one. Pretty much the same table. The weather settings itself are very much different to the previous stage, but they have the same variety. Here again, also almost identical. Here is something else to consider. Here is the default heavy fog weather setting. And as you can see, the visibility range is very limited here. And especially in the more open, faster sections, this looks quite awful when you are pushing this wall of fog in front of you. So EVO tries to fix this into a more believable heavy fog setting. But driving in a competitive online rally, this would give EVO users an advantage. And in some cases a disadvantage. So EVO uses a trick. So EVO users don't have to fear to have an advantage or disadvantage in these more challenging conditions while competing in online rallies. You can maintain the adjusted EVO weathers, but with adjusted viewing distances, and in some cases also adjusted brightness, to maintain the default visibility as much as possible when rallying online. In offline rallies you will keep the fully adjusted EVO settings though. So here is now what you would encounter in an online rally. These are still the EVO heavy fog settings, but with default visibility range. I'm not a fan of this wall of fog, so I adjusted it out of the EVO heavy fog setting. But in online rallies, for competitive reasons and general fairness, I edited it back in. To further get this point across, here is a comparison. This is the default heavy fog weather setting. This is EVO with default visibility. And this is EVO with its offline visibility. So on this particular stage, I felt that the EVO visibility range is more believable than the default one. On other stages, however, you can go more extreme with the visibility. Generally, EVO does not shy away from more extreme settings, as adjusting to difficult conditions that are never going to be perfect is a big part of rallying in my experience. It's either too dark, too bright, too wet, too dry, you name it. For example, I personally would experiment with darker conditions in twilight conditions, or hazy conditions as they are called in RBR, a lot more. But brightness has been the main concern for EVO users so far. That's why a sunset or dusk weather condition was introduced a while back to add to the existing weather conditions table and to being able to go for more extreme or even experimental settings. These are once again not global settings. They need to be adjusted for each stage, as every stage seems to behave differently. Oh, see, talking about all these specifics, I almost forgot to mention Reshade now. So here's another quick comparison. Here you see the default settings compared to the EVO settings. And here with Reshade applied, EVO does not depend on Reshade. Almost all the work is done way before that. Reshade is just an optional extra if you want a bit more visual flair, like nighttime headlights or a depth of field effect. We entered deep into the nerd realm of RBR here, but maybe at some point there's going to be a second part to this episode, again featuring your favorite EVO engineer, talking about the riskier, the more extreme weather conditions, the hazy path clouds, the heavy rains, and night conditions and sunset and twilight conditions and how they are crafted. See ya.
Yes, I'm back with the weather settings engineer of EVO. Please explain to us in detail how does the process work and how do these steps actually look? Maybe right to the point where Reshade might come into play in the end.